Ace King, obviously the stone nuts. I think he calls me here. He does, which is a obviously beautiful situation for me. One of the best situations you can have is to get called by King Deuce when you're holding Ace King, I think. Might be the best situation possible, actually. 7-8, if it was suited, I'd probably be shoving in that spot. 7-8 offsuit, too weak for 15 big blinds. Jack's obviously the best hand. I don't know what Suntrios is planning on doing here. Calling is a little bit weak. Donk betting, Suntrios is just a huge idiot. I mean, he just put himself in such a bad spot here. I mean, he called and donk led with fives, and he really has no idea where he's at right now. This could be a total airball bluff by something good really easily, but it's not. He happens to have the stone nuts. And I'm pretty sure Suntrios loses here. Yep, because I end up going heads up with something good, not trying to spoil it, but that is what happens. Deuce 4 would be a fold, 4-7's a fold. Queens, obviously stone nuts, and there's no other play. You can't really min raise, so just shoving is the best. And I happened to situationally cooler someone again. I mean, he has fours. I wrote that in my blog. Like, I happened to run really good situationally. Like, getting called by King Deuce and I have Ace King is pretty awesome. Having like fours versus queens three-handed is just like huge. You can't ever blame pocket fours six big blinds deep there. 5-8's a clear fold. I'm sitting on 20 big blinds right now, which makes life really easy. But if things get a little bit deeper, it makes things slightly more confusing. My plan right now is to min raise and see how he reacts to it. With 20 big blinds, I'm definitely gonna shove any ace over whatever this guy's doing, and he's 3xing the button, which is totally exploitable. He shouldn't be 3xing, so that's a huge mistake by something good. And yeah, my plan is just to like min raise and just see flops and pots with this guy. I know this guy's a fish, so I'm not gonna really bluff. And checking behind gut shots is a very powerful move. So now that I hit my king top pair, I'm probably gonna assume that I have the best hand and start betting. And he calls. And because he calls like that, I know that I have the best hand for sure at this point. And so I'm gonna bet again for value. I decided to go ahead and make it elite bet for 1-3-3-7 chips. And I know for sure that I have the best hand at this point. It's just beyond all doubt. And so right now I'm just hoping for a call. And like I said, people cannot fold. Fish especially cannot fold. And you exploit that by value betting the shit out of them and not bluffing. There's definitely people to bluff and there's spots to bluff. But fish are not one of them. Fish, you just like play the most standard, obvious game ever that they're too stupid to exploit. I will play 100% straightforward against something good, and he's not going to be able to do anything about it. Right now we're really deep, so I can't really shove ace-6 unexploitably. So my goal here is just to check call and let him keep betting. I'm just going to have to assume that I have the best hand here because there's only 2 aces left in the deck. And I'm going to be careful for flush draws and whatever else, but the deuce is about the most tame card they can possibly roll off, so I think it's a good card. He doesn't bet enough here, and because he only bet 750, I don't want any draw to get there cheaply, so I put an impromptu check raise in there. And with the 9 ball rolling off, which is one of the best cards possible in the deck again, I mean, obviously it pairs Jack 9, but if Jack 9 got there, it just doesn't matter. And so I shove all in here, and this is one of the hands that basically turns the whole game around because I just end up with a monster chip lead after this, and he has absolutely no idea how to play poker. And when I have this kind of huge chip lead advantage and skill set, he just gets crushed for the rest of the game. He times down for a little while with his jack, which is clearly not good. But he's just way too like it's taking him this long to fold a jack. You know, I would just never I would never bluff here. Anyone with a brain knows that I'm not bluffing because fish cannot fold. It is the hardest thing in the world for him to fold this jack right now. He's like tormenting himself, and he doesn't understand how never good his hand is right there. I have pocket aces. I'm not gonna want the button because I don't want him to get there. So I min raise to induce, and he has 7 deuce offsuit, so he's clearly gonna fold. He has 6 king. I'm gonna shove right here because I figure I have fold equity, and 10 jack suited is just a really strong hand in general anyways, so I end up folding out a better hand for a really healthy pot there, which is good. And now my plan, now that we're like 11 big blinds deep, is to play Nash Equilibrium. I shove 4s, obviously. 10s are stone nuts, so I'd be really happy to get that in, but he folds 3 king. 3 king, he should have shoved himself there, actually, but he's an idiot and he didn't do it. 4 king is a shove, so I shove 4 king. He folds 9-5. He should have shoved his last king high, though. Like I said, I'm shoving king high. Queen 7 is probably a shove right now, but he limps the button and lets me see a free flop. He's going to min bet, and I'm going to fold. He has the best hand anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Next hand, I get 10 queen. It's an unexploitable shove for, what are we at, 9 big blinds now, so I'm probably going to shove, and he folds. Next hand, he folds. I'm kind of lagging a little bit. Okay, so ace deuce, another unexploitable shove. I know he calls. I just remember this heads up thing really well, and I also saw like a small piece of it before I made this video. Ace deuce is unexploitable shove for sure, and he gets there. I go ahead and applaud him in chat and say nice hand, and so he wins as a small underdog by like 43% ish. He limps the button again because he's a fish, and we're a little bit too deep for me to shove 6-8 unexploitably, so my goal here, because he's been min betting so much, is to check raise, because he's the kind of fish that's going to like bluff at these pots. That's what I was talking about earlier, and so my goal, if he was really passive, I just would have let into him with 6-8, but because he's the kind that's going to like min bet bluff, I just go ahead and decide to play like that. 3 queen suited is a pretty good hand, but for this many big blinds is not that much, so what I decided to do is I decided to min raise because he hasn't really been playing back at them by 3-betting. Now that he showed that he has the capacity to 3-bet, I'm not going to min raise any hand like that I'm going to fold. I'm only going to min raise super good hands like aces or otherwise shove or fold. And again, I only play in completely exploitable fashions like this versus fish, versus more competent people that realize what you're up to. 10 jack is an unexploitable shove even this deep, so I go ahead and ship it in. Yeah, but people that can clearly see what you're up to obviously require a completely different line of thought, but something good is not that smart, so I'm able to pull all kinds of maneuvers like that, like min raising exploitably versus him. 2 jack is a clear fold. He happens to have deuces, which has me dominated. Ace king is obviously the stone nut, so I'm gonna ship it in. And my 3-bet shoving range here is, it's pretty strong. I mean, I've had ace 6 so far, ace king, 10 jack suited. It's fairly well balanced, I like it. And 4 is obviously unexploitable. I shove. He calls with ace 8. And flop rolls off really terrible, but not the worst ever. Turn is amazing, and then the river just gives me the win, and that is the tournament. I sign off with a GG with the guy, and that was the game. So hopefully that can give some people some insight into the way that I play, and help any reader listening of my blog to play Sit and Goes a little bit more effectively. And hopefully in a little while I'll make another video blog at some point about some topic, because I think they're a little bit enjoyable to do every here and there. And lastly, I just really hope that I can get this whole Porsche thing figured out, because I really want to drive that car. I'm really itching to do it right now. I'm just too scared to even turn on the car right now. But alright, thanks for listening, and I'll talk later. Bye.